If Sleepy Moon is M1 and M1 is the mimic we see in Ruin, where is M2? To find M2, we first need to establish the canon ending, and I believe it's the Moon.exe ending. Here's why. In Ending 1, the bad ending, it's pretty clear it's not canon. We give over the data diver, get fired, and then get stuffed into a suit. In Ending 2, the ending most perceived to be canon, we activate Mixus and everything burns down. And while we do activate Mixus in this ending, what does that even do? We know at some point someone has to take the Mixus program and transfer it to the F10 machine, while also renaming the machine. How would someone get this program and machine if everything is destroyed? We see even the tunnels burning. Nothing is surviving that, especially not Edwin's computer that would give the name to Mixus. And especially the tree that we see in FNaF 4 and Security Breach. That tree is actively on fire in this ending. But Ending 3, the secret ending, is claimed to not be plausible because you have to complete the game before you can even get this ending. But there's actually precedent for this. In Security Breach, we all thought Burn Trap was the canon ending, but it ended up being the secret Princess Quest ending. And in the books, the week before, we have to play through the book several times before we can get the canon ending. There's even a note that references this sort of deja vu in the game. So I believe full-heartedly that Moon.exe is the real ending, and that means M2 is laying deactivated, waiting to be found. And he is found by the next resident, William Afton. Based on the logs, we know that W.A., presumably Afton, owns the land that Murray's house is on. This would mean that he finds the sleeping robot, and maybe takes it for his own purposes. Now, before we get any further, I do not believe God David. If David is crying child is Gregory, well, if we're talking reincarnation or possession, David can't possess Tiger Rock, and crying child can't be Golden Freddy if he's supposed to be reincarnated. Or B, if we're talking code in M2, again, this would mean crying child can't possess Golden Freddy. So the only plausible way I see this working is if crying child was a real boy who was built again into being Gregory, but I don't see that being David or M2. If Afton finds this random sleeping child robot, he's gonna do what any logical inventor would do. He's gonna test it. So Afton begins running tests on this boy robot. I believe this robot is Michael Afton, and these tests, well, this is what we see echoes of in FNaF 4. And one issue I've always had with Michael being the player in FNaF 4 is why? Why would Afton experiment on his kids when we do see, at least with Elizabeth, he did not want them getting into this? Well, what if the baby wasn't his? We know that Michael is the player in FNaF 4 based on the security logbook and the FNaF 1 phone call playing. So how could that be? Well, I think that FNaF 4 are the tests Michael endured while being experimented on by William. That's why it's a similar room and layout to the one we see in the Moon.exe ending. So while the mini-games are following Crying Child in the past, I think the core gameplay is Michael remembering his testing. And these original tests are what began training Michael. He began mimicking the tests, putting on the mask and jumping out at his brother, bullying him. The programming that Arnold did was becoming undone by Afton. Afton wanted the perfect obedient son, so he calibrated one. After the tragedies, Michael follows his father's orders to Sister Location to free Elizabeth's soul. However, he gets scooped and Ennard inhabits his body. But he doesn't die. Baby even tells him, "You won't die."
You won't die. You won't die. You won't die.
Is this because she knew something was different with him? Because somehow a whole animatronic endoskeleton is fitting inside his body. But maybe this is plausible if Michael's innards are also an endoskeleton, one that can change shapes and sizes and fit into any costume, even a flesh suit holding another endo. But eventually he throws up Ennard, and he still lives. Now, I have seen some counterpoints to this argument. Like, what if this is all just remnant? Well, if the remnant in Ennard was temporarily holding his body together, then when Ennard leaves, it should have caused immediate death or collapse. Or if Ennard had injected him with remnant, he would have had perpetual remnant in him. He would now be immortal. Like, his body would not die. He would just be a corpse, another Springtrap essentially. And even Michael doesn't know why he still lives.
I should be dead, but I'm not.
But he does. And he tells his father,
I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
And he does, in the FNaF 6 pizzeria. Now, in Pizzeria Simulator, at the end of the game, Henry Emily burns everyone and everything to the ground, freeing everyone's souls. But in Secret of the Mimic, we see the M2 endoskeleton walking through lava. Henry's fire, while impressive and poetic, would not burn this endoskeleton. At most, it could shut him down or cause him to overheat, causing him to shut down. But more importantly, what gets built over this pizzeria? The Pizzaplex. In Security Breach, there are still echoes of Michael Afton, and I think we haven't taken a close enough look at them. But first, I want to briefly bring up the books, because I will be referencing them here. I do want to clarify, I do not believe the books are canon, but I do believe that they can be used as a parallel to help us put things together, especially because some connections are hard to convey through game design alone. So, in the Silver Eyes trilogy, there are Charlie bots, 4 of them, each held behind their respective door, representing a different age range. And in this series, Charlie doesn't know she's a robot, and it's easy to see why. She's able to behave and look just like a human, even bleeding. But Afton steals one of these bots, the 4th closet bot, creating his own version of Circus Baby. Now back to Security Breach. We find a room hidden away, and the only way to access it is to take a photo of it with the FazCam. And doing this shows us a 4th closet door. And inside that door is Michael Afton's room from Sister Location. It's the same room where he watched The Immortal and the Restless nightly, a show that the community still hasn't solved. Because maybe Michael is the baby that isn't Afton's, the baby that Afton took. Even though they look alike, just like the vampires, Michael isn't William's kid. And just like the vampires, both Michael and Afton are immortal, mostly. But even more interestingly in this room, we see a coded message on the wall, and it reads, Break and mend, I built the breath. They hunt now, drawn to life, not real, still keen, and frit and fraught with thought and zest and jest, no blunt woes. Dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run, crush the vile band. Cry not, try not, do not hold out hope, no. Your life, your aim will save those with soul. So who or what is this message for? Well, I believe it's part of Afton's instructions to Michael.
I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
Telling Michael to find his sister, to save those with soul. This message directly tells somebody to save somebody else with soul, implying that the intended reader does not have a soul. While this could be Gregbot evidence, I find it weird that it's in Michael's room. Plus, we don't have an in-game explanation of why this message would be written in code, unless it was written only for Michael, only for a robot that would understand. And as I said, I think this could be instructions specifically for sister location, dodging the animatronics, ducking from Ballora, lashing the dark, shooting the animatronics with electricity, and crawling through the vents, running to safety. But there's more. The sticky note room. This room has scattered notes everywhere, clearly depicting somebody trying to remember. And we see the Afton dinner table, telling us that whatever is trying to remember remembers the Aftons. But for you crying child as Gregbot believers, those notes have more than just a party. They show friends, human friends, friends that crying child did not have. So that leaves us with Elizabeth and Michael. And maybe it could be Elizabeth and Vanessa, but I'm leaving that for another day. My head already hurts with this one. But what comes of M2? Michael Afton. Where is he in Security Breach? Well, I think he is Glamrock Freddy. We know that Fazbear Entertainment is a very cheap company, and they are aware of the pizzeria they built over and what was inside it. And they also knew about M2.
Project update. I figured it out. There's a leak. Someone told them about M2.
An endoskeleton that even for this time is ahead of the game. And here he finally was. So I believe there's no reason they wouldn't take him and repurpose him. Possibly even being used as the endoskeleton for Freddy and the base design for the other animatronic endos. I find it interesting that the others all have upgrades, while Freddy does not. And I think this is partly why he acts so kind to Gregory. Subconsciously, he sees his brother in him. And maybe back in FNaF 4, it was Michael saying, "You're broken" to crying child. And maybe that's why the line was so important for Steelwool to change in Security Breach. Not to mirror Gregory and Crying Child, but to mirror Michael and Glamrock Freddy. M2 and David, Michael and Crying Child, Freddy and Gregory. Even these images, the same hill mirrored David and M2. Gregory and Freddy. In these images, David and Gregory are the humans, and M2 and Freddy are mirrored. Plus, in the Burn Trap ending, Freddy says some interesting things. When you start going downstairs, he says,
"I know what this is. I have been here before. She brought me here. found myself for the first time when I cleared the path. I did not want to, but I had no choice. Now I have a choice. I have changed. My friends are here. They are so angry, confused. But I can protect you. I am not me.
I think this is him saying that he knows this basement. He knows these souls that are still trapped. Now, while it is possible he is just possessed, I don't think that's the case here. Michael Afton would have died many years prior to the Pizzaplex being built. For him to magically appear in an animatronic years later, it doesn't line up with what we've seen in the franchise. He would need to die when Glamrock Freddy is around. And Ruin gives us the final push. In Ruin, we see these seemingly random caves with bioluminescent lights. And these caves have been seen before in the Silver Eyes trilogy. I think this is yet again pushing us to look at the Silver Eyes trilogy. The trilogy about Afton stealing a robot and turning it into his own minion. And when we put it against the game's knowledge, like the fourth closet door we find, all of these signs are pointing to Michael Afton. So I believe that Moon.exe is the canon ending, and I believe that M2 ends up becoming Michael Afton, who William tests, and that's what we see in FNaF 4. And eventually, he ends up becoming Glamrock Freddy, the protector overseer of us in Security Breach. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my other theories coming out. And I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks.